Alright guys, so I got a fun video for today, and it's going to be for the Civic. We got the 1992 Honda Civic hatch. Now this video might stir up a little bit. I'm hoping it doesn't, but it might. Basically the rundown of this video is it worth it to buy an old 90s Honda Civic in 2024 or running into 2025? With all the new cars you have out there, you have tons of different options. Should you buy a fun little project car, or should you just buy a new car that already has the power you're looking for? So first we'll give the rundown on the old 90s Civics. So almost everything's been done to these things, whether it's been wheel setups, builds, turbo setups, supercharged setups, motor swaps. So if you do plan on doing that, you at least know there's somebody else that's already done it. So that means the homework's already been done for you. The research has already been done, and all that. What works, what doesn't work. Now, that also falls into, what are you looking for out of the car? Are you looking for an older car that's quick, that you can just mess with the new cars? Or are you looking for something to build? And if you're looking for something to build, are you willing to put the money into an older car versus having a newer car? So most places, we already know, like insurance companies and all that, they are not going to value this anywhere near what you think they would. So versus a new car where they might value it, let's say a $10,000 car, insurance might look at this and be like, I'll give you $1,000 for it if you total it. One of those setups. If you're dead set on getting an older Civic, there's pros and cons. So the pros, tons of people like them, tons of people have them, and tons of people have already done what you're probably thinking about doing to them. Whether it's going from the D-Series motor that they come with to swapping in the Integra GSR motor, or going all out and going with the ITR motor, the B18 C5, the USDM would be the B18 C1, or you can go with the Prelude motor, the H22, H23 motor. That's been done as well. Or you can jump into the later years where now everybody's swapping in the K20s or the K24s, or running the K20 short or the K20 bottom end, K24 top end. Or you can go crazy with the J series, J32s, all that good stuff. Basically, it honestly comes down to what you're looking for out of the car. Yes, these things can be fast. They can. Yes, you can make them all-wheel drive with the CRV or the wagon drivetrain. Make it all-wheel drive. It will sit up a little bit higher. Some of the setups were I do want to go all-wheel drive with this car, but it's kind of the only thing that's holding me back really is the fact that a lot of the times when you do this, if you go all-wheel drive, you do have to delete out the gas tank, which then you have to run a fuel cell, which I'm not. If I want to run all-wheel drive, I kind of want to keep the stock tank, or get a tank that's modified to basically saddlebag the rear diff. I kind of don't want to go with the fuel cell setup, because I do kind of pretty much daily drive this car. It's a fairly reliable car, but it can be a fun car as well. Now, the other option is getting a new car. So if you're dead set on an old 90s car, just know you're going to end up having to throw some money into it. Whether it's, let's say it doesn't look as clean as this, then this isn't even that clean. Let's say it has rust on the rear quarters, like a lot of times they do, or rust up top by the rails, or rust in the back hatch area where the actual latches are. It happens. So are you willing to fix the rust, which is going to be probably $1,500 a side, depending on who you have do it, or so on and so forth. Obviously all the mechanical stuff is pretty much 30 years old, so you're going to have to replace all that. Can it be done? Yes. Is it cheap? It depends. Do I think you should own one? Absolutely, it's fun. They're fun cars. They're cheap to replace parts on, depending on what you get. D-Series parts, I have been seeing that they've been actually going up in value, which, I mean, they're alright, but they're only okay if you like boost them. And then you have the guys that do the B18 swaps, but the B18 C1 and C5s, they're also $6,000-7,000 depending on what you're looking to get. Also, then you have to jump into another territory of, does the car have interior anymore? Is it gutted out? Mine I bought has full interior. It's not bad looking. S2000 seats. Another thing is, I mean, it is definitely a 90s car. Really not much going on. You got no touchscreens. It's all buttons and old school knobs. I mean, there's really nothing special going on in here. So if you are looking to build one, definitely don't look for that aspect. That is a new car. That's going to be a 2024 car, not a 90s car. The simplicity of it, though, makes it cheap. So it's easy to build, it's cheap to build, but mainly because you're losing out on a lot of the new car aspects. Now, with that said, you could have a extremely fast, especially a hatch or a coupe, you could have an extremely fast car for less than 10 grand. You could have a pretty damn fast car, and it would probably stay relatively fast for years to come. Now, we won't even add EVs into it because we already know, yes, the EVs are kind of hated on, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to compete with an electric car. It really is. I don't prefer them, and I honestly don't want to get one, but at the same time, we both know performance-wise, they're not bad. We gotta give them that at least. But for the Civics, I'll give you top 5 reasons you should buy one, and then I'll let you decide whether or not you shouldn't buy one. So I'll give you reason number 1. They're iconic cars. Everybody loves the good old bubble hatches. If you're not a bubble hatch guy, you like the EKs, the little square butt, that's all personal preference. Oh dear. So we got 1 for iconic cars. 2, they're reliable. They are extremely reliable cars. The 90s Hondas and all the Japanese cars from the 90s, they have held their own through the years that have hit them. Basically, they've lasted a while, and they're running on 30-year-old mechanical parts. So you got iconic car, and they're reliable. 3, depending on what you do with the car, it's cheap. And half this stuff on this car is so cheap to replace compared to other cars. Super cheap. Like the engine. If you saw my last video on YouTube, it talks about just a quick overview of me swapping from the D15B7 to the D15B, the Japanese motor. I paid $300 for the motor. Super cheap. So after being cheap, we're going to go into 4, parts availability. You can definitely find parts for this car, whether it be eBay, Honda, the dealership itself, online, Facebook Marketplace, part out, everywhere. You can find parts for this thing everywhere. The hatches and the coupes, you can exchange doors with to run power accessories, all that good stuff. So parts availability is there, reliability is there, cheapness is there, and on top of that, it's an iconic car. Right there's already 4 solid points right off the bat. Number 5, it is a niche market, but at the same time, it's also a loved market. It's a love-hate. So obviously the V8 guys hate the 4 cylinders, or the 4 bangers as they call them, but at the same time they also do respect them because they know a boosted 4 cylinder, especially in all-wheel drive, you all see the memes on Facebook and stuff, Civic with the laptop. They're light cars, they're cheap to build, and yes, they don't resemble anything of like a Lambo or a Corvette, or even on the lower tier like a Mustang or a Camaro. But at the same time, this thing as a fully built car is faster at a fraction of the price, and it's just cheaper to build. Like, I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with that first one, but overall, I mean, let's just say you bust out a window. That's cheap to replace. Bust out the windshield, cheap to replace. Door break, or let's say you get smacked in let's say you hit a pole. Doors cheap to replace. So overall, this whole setup is just cheap to replace. The initial jump in, though, Now I have seen some going for like a decent market value, like 2-3 grand. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's your 90s Civic. But then you have people that are taxing them way up because there's less and less and less, and they know the market for them is very specific, and they know certain people want them for certain reasons, whether they're drag cars or just fun build cars, or someone just really wants an old EG hatch or an EK hatch even, or if you're going back in time to CRX, the old square hatch. The market, they can inflate it big time. Like I said, I paid almost 5 grand for this thing. And in that same aspect, this is a 92, I could have gotten like a 2015, 2016 car for that same 5 grand. I mean, obviously the miles and stuff would be a little bit different, but even then. But honestly, should you get one, I think it would definitely be worth it if you're willing to put in the work to keep it going. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy like your local beat down Civic that has like rusted out fenders, roof starting to rust. It's like all different colors. It's got 2 different size tires on it. It's just, that's a big project. So like, I mean, if you had tons of money saved back and you were willing to take on that project, that's one thing. But if you were like a high school kid or a college kid that was looking to build a Civic, I would definitely look around a little bit. Preferably buy one that runs, and without rust. Now that already may jump the price up to 4 grand right there. But they're definitely worth it when you actually have them running, because you know at least you're at least going to be able to get at least 4 out of them, 4 or 5 out of them, depending on what you do to it. And then everything else is just a bonus. Like this one came with work wheels. That's about all it came with, honestly. It just came with the work wheels, and it was tinted already. But that's going to be my take on it. They are reliable. They're definitely going to be worth it if you hold on to them. They're cheap to maintain, and building them it's as what you would call them in the car world. They're cookie cutter builds. It's already been done, and the problems have already been gone through. The downfalls of it is, like I was saying, they're overtaxed. So I've seen beat up hatches in way worse shape than this sell for like 5 grand, which is ridiculous to me, but people buy them. Maybe whoever did the last thing to it, they probably maybe did a janky job on it, whether it's wiring or not using the right bolts, cross-threading stuff together. That stuff happens too. If there's a paint job on it, I've seen Del Sols that were spray painted, and they spray painted all over the rubber moldings around the windows, the windshields. Like, I would stay away from stuff like that, because it doesn't sound like a fun time to me, honestly. But overall, the pros definitely will outweigh the cons, depending on how long you're willing to keep the car for and how invested you are in the car. Now, if you don't want to deal with any of those issues or problems, I would highly recommend don't even look at a 90s car. Just go into a 2010 or newer. Just get a newer car, because the older cars definitely at first they'll get you. They'll start taxing you with maintenance. But after you get past that first maintenance curve, everything else just kind of falls in line. And then, especially if you do like the car, it'll kind of just stay with you, and you'll want to do it versus feel like you have to do it now. Like, now I gotta fix that, or now I gotta fix that. So that's basically all personal preference at that point. But on my aspect, I would say this thing has probably been one of the funner cars that I've ever had in my life. And I had one previously years ago, back in like 2011, so I even wanted to buy another one after so many years. It's been stuck in my head that long. But they are fun cars, and that's basically up to you as the buyer to decide whether you want to actually own one of these cars or give up on it and just buy a newer car. Hopefully this can kind of help a little bit for the guys that are actually looking to buy or looking to jump into one of the older 90s cars. Because like I said, I have 2 of them, the 92 Civic Hatch, and then I have the 92 Subaru SVX. So both of them are 2 very different lanes. But in that same aspect, they're both 90s cars, and it takes a little bit of money up front to get them to go and to get them to stay semi-reliable. But if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them down below. Like I said, it's all up to you guys. Alright? Peace, guys.